supreme. Love that. Alright, hello and welcome back. This week I'm excited because I'm reviewing EP Spiegel's work again. I've got 2 of her books this week and next week. The first book is Capfield, The Devil's Game. The Devil's Game picks up where Racketeer leaves off, and we're following the newly named Rat Pack on their hunt to track down Jet's father, Cage. And for those of you who remember, and for those of you who don't, Robert Cage is trying to kill his son, and vice versa. And this all goes back because Robert Cage killed his wife, Naomi, who happens to be Jet's mother. So Cage is trying to hunt down Jet, Jet is trying to hunt down Cage, and it's your classic revenge, patricide, filicide sort of situation, or at least attempted. The cool thing, I think, about The Devil's Game is that we get to meet some new characters, and for the characters that we already know, they develop even more. The one that I especially like to see the develop of was actually both Cages, because Robert Cage in the first book, he just seems kind of your typical murderous villain. This book, you get a little bit more insight into his psyche. You see that he's kind of a tortured soul, you see that he has guilt, and to a lesser extent you see that he does still love his son, but that love is almost overshadowed by his desire to kill him. Jet, similarly, still very much wanting to exact revenge on his mother's behalf, but there's this point where Cage kidnaps Jet and kind of holds him captive, but not really, because they agree to work together, much to the despair of the rest of the Rat Pack. But little does Cage know, this is all a ploy and Jet doesn't actually mean it. That said, while he's with Cage in their old house, they kind of like, not rekindle a relationship, but Jet experiences feelings of wanting to be with his father again, wanting a father again. Also, on the note of the characters, as I said, we are introduced to a couple of new ones. So, if y'all remember, Vito died. That was a bummer. And he's essentially replaced by a new hitman tracker guy by the name of Winter. And Winter is like Levi's right-hand man. And Levi, if y'all also remember, actually helped the Rat Pack escape. So Levi and Winter, by extension, are kind of working for Mr. Duke, but they're also kind of working to keep Jet and his crew safe. And then the other character that we meet is Daisy. And Daisy, I love her. She's this quirky little true crime documentary enthusiast who has one leg and bright purple hair, and she carries around a frog named Matilda, which is really interesting because Ted apparently is afraid of frogs, but then at one point he like has to save her. It's this whole thing. But what I really liked about these 2 characters is that they kind of brought a freshness to the story, because the first one, Racketeer, very engaging. This one's also very engaging, but whereas Racketeer I feel like was more focused on setting up the rest of the series and kind of setting up, there's this tension, there's this crime boss, they're in the middle of the Arizona desert, drama. This book has a more human focus, which was just really refreshing, and I thought it was just really interesting and nice. Because I would think that a lot of y'all know by now, I really do enjoy that character-driven, dialogue-driven, description type story. And Spiegel does this really well. Spiegel also, like, master of setting things up. Like, there's this one point where the Rat Pack goes to Daisy's house, and I'll try to keep this relatively spoiler-free, but they go to her house because something happened in their hideout, and turns out that her father is a police officer. And if you guys remember, kind of near the middle endish of the first book, some of the Rat Pack is picked up by a police officer who happens to be Amy is her name, who happens to be Ted's mom. But Daisy's police officer father is actually her partner at the police station, however that works. So the fact that Spiegel is just able to tie in little details like that, supreme. Love that. It was just, it made the action scenes that much more, well, I mean, I feel like action scenes are just kind of exciting as long as they're well written, which they are. But I think that the fact that Spiegel was able to tie in all those little details makes the world fuller and makes the story as a whole that much more satisfying to read. So I definitely recommend, especially if you like crime, if you like suspense, if you like a little bit of action. It's a solid read and it's entertaining, and I really can't think of too many reasons why you wouldn't like it, unless, like, I don't know, hitmen are triggering, pun not intended. But even so, like, obviously everybody's a different reader. I'm definitely one of those people who kind of forgets that I like that genre, and so this is a nice little reminder to be like, oh my gosh, this is such a good book, this is such a good series, such a good genre. And a lot of that is due to the fact that Spiegel is an excellent author, very descriptive, very thoughtful plot, very thoughtful characters, just overall solid read. Next week I have the review for Capfield Book 3, The Good Berry Men. So keep your eyes out for that next week. Thanks for watching and happy reading.